opportunity to work alongside you in the terms of looking at ways in which we can build an alternative for working class people. I'm going to move straight on to the next speaker. Comrades, can you welcome Mark Steele?
Thanks also for inviting me. It's a pleasure, indeed, pleasure to be here. And also, because Justice Kevin's absolutely right, that this is a brilliant time in which to have a conference in which its subheading is Marx is right. What a brilliant week in which to have a conference in which the basis of it is that the world can be changed. I mean, that's the biggest enemy we face on the left, years and years and years. It's a cynical one. Yeah, you may well be right with all your ideals, they'll be marvellous, but the world can't change. And this week, at least, it really would be a very, very difficult argument if you said to someone, nothing ever changes in this world. That would be quite extraordinary. Things have changed to the extent that now everybody loves a banner. That's what I love about it. When the right wing are beaten, even George Bush, this is a marvellous historic moment. Marvellous historic moment here, this moment that I've dedicated my entire life to making sure never happens. Historic moment here. John McCain, yes, one, marvellous. Well, I congratulate him on making me look like one of the century's biggest buffoons. It's absolutely possible at all. Of course, and now all these other people coming up, we think it's marvellous that Barack Obama's there. I know that during the campaign we called him a sneaky black African-American bloody terrorist bastard taking your money in taxes and sell you all off to Al-Qaeda, but that campaign, but now it's a marvellous thing. He's in power. And of course it can look like that it's inevitable, just like the old saying, that all the things that once appeared impossible then become inevitable. Of course it can look inevitable. Of course it can look, well, Bagger had it easy because there is this character who somehow the Republicans found as their candidate, who seems to be the most idiotic person in the whole of the country, except that having scoured the length and breadth of the nation, he did manage to find one person more stupid. Of course it can look inevitable, but of course that wasn't just the case. They were made to look stupid because all the old tricks that the right wing throw, he'll put up your taxes, he'll sell the country militarily down the river, he'll be soft and so on. Every time they threw that at people, it didn't work, it bounced back at them, and they didn't know. And the truth of it is, I think this week, for anyone who thinks the world can't change, extraordinary. First of all, obviously, anybody who is a little bit older than me, who's maybe taken part in any way in the civil rights movement, cannot be someone who then thinks the world can't change. And the Banner certainly wouldn't have been possible without that. But also, when you think just 4 years ago, even the most optimistic of us, it seemed to us that this project for the new American century seemed invincible. It seemed that they could do anything. They'd been into Iraq, they'd got their bloody person who organised it, or who was at the front of it, re-elected. They seemed as if there was nothing that could be done about it. And now they lie in tatters. The project for the new American century did not, as far as I was aware, have as its end that the president who'd organised it would end up as the most discredited president ever, who sort of already seems to have just sneaked and slipped out and probably isn't allowed into clubs and isn't on the list and so on already. Get out of the way. Rumsfeld, utterly discredited, the sort of figure that I can imagine is only going to make a comeback now if he pops up a couple of years' time on Celebrity Big Brother. They've disappeared. They're on the way out, these people. This is extraordinary defeat. John Bolton, Dave was telling me earlier on about John Bolton, that sort of grotesque figure that has been so central to this project for the new American century, which they militarily rule across the whole planet in a way which only serves American interests, or the interests of the handful of people at the top of society. The bloke almost exploded on the television the other night. My world's fallen apart, it can't be right. How can these figures add up to this amount? You've all got it wrong. Suddenly these people appear utterly discredited. And that clearly says to anyone who you call themselves a human being, as far as obviously, let alone a socialist, that the world can and has changed. And then you compare it. I love the fact that New Labour's response to you too. Gordon Brown has the audacity to sit there and congratulate him. You think, Banner, please don't think that this is what it's going to be like being president, have to take that sort of thought. And then Peter Mandelson having the audacity to give him advice. Mr. Obama, I think there's taking advice of someone who knows how to make themselves popular. and then you compare it. See, there was one little incident that I think encapsulates so many of the things has said about Labour. And it came at a moment I wasn't expecting it, when I was driving along through London listening to the cricket commentary. In August of this year. And the test match commentators, for those of you who don't know, are fairly posh. And one of them was saying, absolutely terrible getting into the ground this morning, took 45 minutes, right on shenanigans, something to do with security, increased security measures. Don't know what caused it all, but anyway, there we are, that's the way of things these days, security everything. And then out of nowhere came the voice of Jeff Boycott, right, the old Yorkshire cricket commentator, cricket player, who just went, "Give Tony Blair to thank for that." This startled me a little bit, and the commentator said, "What on earth are you talking about?" And Boycott said, "I'm telling you, you've Tony Blair to thank for that." He was told that if he was going to go around supporting wars in various places illegally, that he had no place in being, that it was going to increase the risk of security, but he decided he didn't have to listen because he knew best. So there you are, now it takes 45 minutes to get into traffic. That is the moment that sums it up. In 1997, when they were elected, none of us, the most cynical of all amongst us, did not imagine it would end 11 years later with them being chastised on test match specials. Americans asked by Jeffrey Bloody Boyd. That is the extent to which they have been appalling. If you were to speak to anyone now under the age of about 30 and say that the Labour Party started out as a socialist party that was proud to be socialist, that whatever disagreements we might have had about it, it was a radical party that stood up for the working person against the billionaires and so on, I'm sure anyone under the age of 30 must just look utterly bemused. As if someone has said something truly surreal, like, you know, the Church of England started out as an aquarium or something. Everything's a big that the gap between rich and poor has increased in the last 11 years. After Thatcher, we're out to Thatcher. She thinks that she and her silly idiot that came after her, they think they've made the gap between rich and poor big. We'll manage to increase it even more. That's their achievement, and so on and so forth. The extent now to which big business dominates every area of life. No, the company that runs hospital car parks made £93 million profit last year. That's modern thinking. Isn't the modernising that Peter Mandelson's talking about? Modern, in the old days, these old dinosaurs would never have been innovative enough to think, they'll be living, they've got no bloody choice, we can't. Genius, anyone who's got kids or has duty to go into a school, or the teachers at one, knows that these places are covered in Tesco's for computers, as if Tesco's have provided these computers out of utter kindness. And they're talking about the computers. Why don't you give them to primary school? They advertise in the schools. Everything about a school is about privatisation, franchised out, and the sports hall is franchised out to Jarvis Ramada and so on, so that they can make money. Every little bit of it, and of course the private finance initiative at the heart of all of that. Everything. Schools are a place to make money. Everywhere is the same. And Peter Mandelson, absolutely right now to mention, I mean, that is the epitome of what these people are about. How craven they are to big business, that they think that Brown thinks that bringing him back, he's just sat there on that ship, or that yacht, whatever you call it, with this Russian trillionaire or whatever he is, a man who has clearly been guilty of most appalling things in order to get to that position. And of course they don't understand it, because they start arguing about, well, who was it who said this, and we have to be careful about what's said and what was recorded. And you think, no, that's actually the wrong question. When the investigations happen about all this, they should say to Peter Mandelson, so were you on that ship with that billionaire on that date? And when he says yes, they should just say, well, in that case, you're fucking guilty, you're sacked. All the rest of it is